Hey, it's Josh Hewitt, and in this video I wanted to talk about something that sort of came to me this week randomly, and something I've reflected on several times before. And it's a realization that I think is really important for those of us who are working on elevating our energy and achieving higher levels of consciousness and spiritual awareness. As you've probably thought about and considered in your own journey, or if you've been reading and watching videos on this topic, this subject of personal development, self-realization, the role of ego as compared to your authentic self, your true self. And I've been thinking a lot about this as well, and how ego, our ego identification, or our identification with our acquired personalities that we develop over our lifetimes, accumulating beliefs and ideas and experiences and chunking that together with our job and our name, and whether we're male or female or white or black or whatever race we are, and whether we choose to be religious or align ourselves with a certain political alignment, and we take that on as who we are, which is not really, doesn't have anything to do with who we are ultimately, because we've assimilated this stuff over our lifetime. And once we identify strongly with our accumulated or acquired ego personality, it becomes really hard to really be fully in the moment, or really to fully authentically connect with someone else, and we start to get into all sorts of judgments of ourselves and others in the situation we're in. And so this is where a lot of the ego death, the talk about ego death and loss of ego, comes into play with meditation and with use of entheogens. And this is, I mean, my first true, complete loss of ego was with my first DMT experience. And since then I've had numerous experiences like that with meditation and with different entheogens and with sensory deprivation, float tanks. But one thing I've noticed is that if you try to overcome your ego or to get in touch with your authentic self, you try to think your way into doing that, your ego sort of traps you into a loop or a cycle of getting, trying to overcome it, and then trying not to try to overcome it, and then just letting things be, so don't try, but you're still thinking about trying. It's an odd realization, and I'm going to try to put it into words to you. I'm going to describe like an example of how this can happen, and I think how a lot of us can end up sort of thinking, oh, I got it, now I'm my authentic self, and I'll just try to be my authentic self and always remember to do that, as opposed to just letting all of that go and being just present and speaking with what comes from within without having to think through everything word by word as what you're going to say next. And that's a lot of what I'm trying to do with the videos I make now is, and again trying, that's what I'm allowing myself to do, is to just, if I want to talk about an idea or a topic or an experience, I just set up the camera and I talk. Whereas before, and on my fitness channel, I'm changing things, the way I do things there as well, the way I run my life basically. I used to, make point forms, a bullet point, make sure I cover all of the necessary topics. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can almost get in your own way. So, for an example, the other night, just a couple of nights ago, I was watching Kyle Cease, and I highly recommend you check out his YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below. And he has a video, maybe I'll put a link to that too. It's called The Limitation Game. It's an excerpt from one of his workshops that he did. And we were watching that, and I guess that got my brain working in this way. And I was dozing off on the couch after we shut it down. My wife and I had watched it. And it was pretty late at night, and so we were just sort of schnoozing, as you might, Netflix and chill night. Except this was off his website streaming. And I was drifting off, and as I was falling asleep, I found myself going into a meditative state. I was still conscious and just letting myself relax, and I started to feel that sense of stillness and that quietness of thought. And I started to think this is great without focusing on being in a meditative state or taking entheogens or doing breath work or doing my qigong. I can just let myself be present and let the ego get quiet whenever I choose. I can practice that right now. And so I just allowed myself to just go within into my body and really sense into myself. But I started to get that very centered, focused, present in my body, aware of my surroundings, the room, without all the thoughts circling around. And immediately a thought comes up. Oh, I've got it. Okay, that's the key, is to just let yourself, do this at any time. You don't have to meditate. And I'm like, oh, now I'm overanalyzing it. So okay, don't overanalyze it. Just let yourself be. And then I started to just don't even have to try anything. So I started to get that feeling again of really being present, that heightened awareness feeling. And then a thought comes in, and aha, you did it. That's the secret, is you just have to remember not to try. But I have to remember this for later, for when I'm meditating I can do this. So later on, when I want to try to be present and aware, and when I want to let ego become quiet in the background, I just have to remember this for later. And I realize again, oh my God, I'm putting myself out of the moment again, because this is really important that I've just learned this epiphany, and now I have to remember to do it later. And then I thought, no, wait a minute, it's okay, I can just experience this now. That's what it's all about, is now. It's not about remembering techniques to implement in the future to get there one day. And so I again centered myself and just let go. Just let go of it all. Just surrender, which I've come to realize, if you can really truly do that, is at least one of the keys of really living fully and being very, very, coming from your true authentic self. Just let it go. Just don't have to try to do anything or think about how to do it. Just be. And then I got that crispness again, that clarity, and I was like, wow, that's so simple, but where's all the techniques and strategies to do that? And I thought, well, maybe there is none. Okay, I have to remember this for a video. I have to do a video of this. So I remember, or I have to write it down so I remember that that's the key to, and again, I'm out of the moment again. And I'm planning the techniques and the thing, or what I have to remember for later, or what I should tell someone, or I should post this on Facebook. Oh, this is a good lesson. And here I am making the video. But so it was really interesting, and I started laughing. I was like, "Oh, this is okay. This is how you can trap yourself into this intellectual loop, and how your ego really does not want to let go of ownership of your personality. Like, I am the ego. What do you mean you're something deeper than that? What do you mean there's a consciousness, true consciousness behind your thinking? No, thinking is what you are. When you let go of thinking, what's going to happen? You won't be able to handle everything, kind of that idea. Some emergency will come up. And so ultimately I was able to just sort of it's okay, no, I don't have to remember anything. I don't have to share anything. I don't have to plan anything. I just let me because I'm in this state, I feel like I'm tiptoeing around this true authenticity, this true presence, this true awareness. I'm just playing with it. And I was like, well, just let it be. Why not just let it be? And I was like, okay. And I would just let it go, and I started to get like little shivers. I don't know if you've ever, when you ever have when you're falling asleep, like those when you're really tired and you're like just drifting off into sleep, and you're kind of like, oh, you get those little like sleep shivers. It was kind of like that. I was like, it was like, don't let go. It's like a release almost of energy, of like nervous energy leaving the body. And then it was like, took a deep breath, which always happens when for myself at least. When I become truly aware, the breath becomes deeper. I start to really breathe, take in oxygen fully, oxygenate my body, start to be very present, start to be aware of my body's natural processes, breathing, heart rate, and everything, that just letting it happen as opposed to restricting and being guarded and planning things too much, And I came into that state, and I opened my eyes and sat up, like, wow, and everything seemed crisp, and some little worries I had about things I have to do, just gone. I could still know they were there, but there was no urgency around it, and I just had that sense, and I just let it be. And all of a sudden I looked at my wife, and I was noticing how beautiful she was, and like how attracted to her I was, how lucky I was, and started to feel like my body, how healthy it is. All of these things that are always, all the blessings that we have, they're always there, that we sort of overlook often. And so then I did today make a conscious note to record this video, because I think what happens is we often think, oh, I got it, I figured something out. I figured out, oh, I did some things to get more enlightened, and now I'm a enlightened guy. And your ego takes on the I'm the enlightened person identity. And like, I do more yoga than them, and people are talking to you and you're not listening because you're thinking, oh, well, I know this already because I did the reading, I studied, oh, I did all of that before already, and I know what I've, you know, and let me tell you what I know. And instead of being present, and it's a competition thing around, like, who's the more spiritually aware? And it's the ego can just, it really has this loop that it can, it gets you into. And I remembered back to one of my recent float tank experiences when I was using an entheogen at the time to help bring me into a meditative state. And my only goal was to have no goal when I went into this flow, just to be present and just to like see what my body experienced when there's less sensory stimulation. And again, same, very similar thing, drifting into that complete presence, that heightened awareness state, feeling that spiritual connection to your authentic or your higher self. And then oh, you got it, and remember this, or oh, make a note, or remember when you get out to write down something, or the little voice. And like, okay, you did it, now keep going with it. And oh, geez, I don't have to try to remember anything. It's like your ego or the thought patterns come in to, like, for me at least, remember this, or you got to now think about it, or you'll lose the moment, kind of thing, rather than just being the moment. It was very similar, and with the entheogen in me, with the psychedelic working in that situation, it was almost felt like a loop. I was almost getting visuals of awareness and then thought, and then pull it back in, and then I can't, right, let it go, and pull it back in, let it go, pull it back, and it's like you keep getting sucked back into the illusion or into the mind chatter or the connection with ego, and then your true awareness senses that and it's like, it's okay, let go. And it's with meditation as thoughts come in too. It's the idea is not to try and resist them, allow them, let them come, and then just say, oh, I see you, thought, and let it go. As opposed to, no, don't think, you know, or judging it as bad or whatnot. And at that moment too, I just couldn't help but just start laughing. Like, this is funny. Like, it's interesting to be aware of that tendency, and very easy to get caught into the point where you think, oh, I figured it out, good, and then just stay in that thinking state. Okay, now I get it. So I do this, and I do my breath this way, I do my breath that way, and I just be present. And you're like, you're overanalyzing the whole thing, and you never actually get to be truly there. Actually, the movie that I was watching, the show that I was watching with Kyle Cease, I think it was called The Limitation Game. And again, I'll put the link to check that out. He actually had, there was one part of that where he was talking about ego getting in there like that. But there's always a thought, and there's always ego there in the background, but it's a useful tool for us to function in our society. So when we become very identified with it and it runs the show, it becomes a problem. But he had this neat little sketch, which I hope you check it out, which sort of, it puts a visual behind what I was describing, where he talks about you becoming your voice in your head saying like, oh, you know, think about the last time this happened, like relate to what go before, put your head in the past, like think about the history of this, and then that will tell you how to act, and you know, but things, you know, it's always been a problem before, so it's going to be a problem now, and then you're like, hey, wait a minute, no, that's my ego limiting thoughts and beliefs talking. And then as soon as you realize that and you try and get it out of there, it's like another ego identity or another thought pattern comes in, another role for the ego comes in, and he like with a broom, he's like shuffling the cleaning house, right? Getting all those negative thoughts and hey, get out of here, you ego. Yeah, we got rid of those egos. Yeah, now that those guys are out there, we can be really, truly on the authentic self. You know, that's like, so let's think about how things are going to be in the future now that we've cleaned house, and like later as we get things sorted out. Now, one day we'll be able to get things right. You know, not right now. Right now it's still pretty rough because we just got over it. So, but later, and then you're like, hey, wait a minute, you're like, get out of here, and another one comes in, get out of here. Oh man, just got those guys. Yeah, now we got it cleared out. Now we figured it out. It's like, yeah. So let's think about how we felt when we were, you know, we got it down, when we were feeling good from before. Because right now, you know, constantly keeping us out of the moment. I'm not nearly as funny as he was. He demonstrated it really well. But I hope that gives you a sort of an idea of how our internal ego roles or thought patterns can sort of try and almost trick us into thinking like, I'm the real you, right? Whereas the letting go of all of that and the quietness, you'll sort of be able to step back and watch those thoughts and ideas and roles come and be not identified with them, not locked in. You can be a state of calm presence, even if there is the little noise or thought, and you just don't get wrapped up in it. That's about all I got to say about that. It's something I'm still working on because, and there I am working, there's something I have to work on. For one day I'll have it figured out because I still have that tendency. But it's almost, and I think I've touched on this idea before, it's almost like it's too easy in some ways to just be present because I keep thinking I need to work at it. Once I meditate more and I do more, you know, movement and energy work and breath work, or you know, I practice more, you know, I'll get it. So there's almost a resistance to being able to just be here now, like just be awake right now, present completely. But just don't try. It's okay. You don't have to have all your fingers and all the strings of the puppeteer every single moment, or things are going to fall apart. Like, I got to keep thinking of what I got to do before and what happened, and then what's happening next, and what things on my to-do list. And if I just let it all go, and I'll forget something. When you're in a state of complete presence awareness, and you're identified as your authentic self, your true self, your higher self, you have such a greater ability to handle anything that comes your way. So it's not like when you're completely present, or you're focused in the moment, or you let your thoughts and your mind become quiet, like you use the ability to use your brain. It's just that you don't become identified with it, you don't become wrapped up in it. It becomes a tool that you can use. And there's that expression that your brain, your mind, is an excellent servant but a really shitty master. So you let yourself, your true self, become the master, and you get to use it as a tool. It's not your enemy. Anyway, I hope that was interesting to someone, or that clicked or resonated with your own experiences, and maybe that helps provide a framework with which to sort of look at it and to realize that, okay, maybe I don't have to listen to all the chatter all the time, or think that all the questions that keep coming up, I have to answer them all right now. Maybe it's okay to just let them all go, and just maybe the answers will come when I stop resisting, persisting, and forcing it. That's it for this time. So until next time, sending you love and light, and stay awake.